Internal progress. That's the name of the game, clearly, from the Flyers' hierarchy, their vision, top down, and it starts with a guy like Tyson Forster. No really big moves today on July 1. We'll see what happens the rest of this offseason. But tying down Tyson Forster as soon as they could. Everyone knew Dan Vladar was getting extended, but your Flyers extend Tyson Forster beyond just the $3.25 million he has 1 year remaining to now 9 more years, 8 by 7.1 AAV. I think it's very good value in terms of a sticker, $7 million, for a guy who they expect big-time growth, who is shown to be a leader, a 200-foot player, was on a near 40-goal pace this past season, but playing just 29 games, he's going to have to get healthy. We know that. That's going to dictate the value of this deal. Point blank, period. A guy who is going to be a fixture in your top six, play big minutes, both power play, PK. 24, going to be 25 midway through this upcoming year. So this takes him through all the years of his effective prime, which is what Danny Briere made a point to note. He doesn't really want to be, clearly, the GM that has guys on terms that take them right in and around age 29, age 30, age 31. Because then you're given a second contract on the heels of that, which maybe puts you in a terrible, unfavorable spot into a player's age 35 season and beyond. So this makes sense from a long-term view for Tyson Forster. But now it just begs the question, okay, what's next? Signing Tyson Forster to this deal, there has to be, whether it's in the coming months before this 26-27 season or in the midst of the season, some winger is going to have to be moved of note, of real value. As far as top 9, let alone top 6 minutes go, you talk about how excited you are with a Bump, a Barkey, let alone Porter Martone, of course, as the face of this franchise now. Those players earned their keep, earned their roles, end of this season, into the playoffs. There's a bit too many cooks in the kitchen now as far as guys who, if you're going to be giving everybody these big contracts, I'm questioning the timeline a little bit. I wonder if an Owen Tippett, who has now a modified 10-team no-trade list on effective date today with his contract, which is a value to say the least at just 6.2 AAV, I think he might be a guy that's on the move. I don't think you're going to be trading a Konechny within the next short to mid-term. He's obviously a big-time leader for your club, and now you admit Tyson Forster is. You're going to have to extend Michkov next offseason on what projects to be, hopefully, a big-time bounce-back, 65-plus point, maybe near point per game type of performance, a return to what we saw that first year as a rookie. Another year under Tocchet. There's going to have to be some big shakeup. You can't just punt down the line here with Briere as far as, sure, you're lurking, his own quotes in interviews with 97.5 beginning of this week. You're lurking. You're in on big stuff. You're getting your hat in the ring. All right, Tyson Forster tied down to a long-term extension. It just makes me think, okay, who is going to be the wing that gets moved within the next year? Within in-season, likely at this point. I got to think it's Owen Tippett as far as where things point to. No trade clause for effectively the next 3 years. In terms of, let me be clear, there's no trade restrictions on Forster's deals for the next 3 upcoming seasons. So there is some time, in theory, to move Forster, but it's a bit of a bad look, even trading him within the next year after you just give him this extension. But then again, can Briere even afford to be in the business of, oh, what's a bad look? If you're getting talent, if you trust in your culture, in your system, this should age well. But you can't just keep status quo, status quo, status quo. Who do you think is going to be the big winger that gets eventually moved? Guys, let me know in the comments. But I think a solid value, a solid deal with Dyson Forster here. But we move on to external, the really one of note big club signing as far as on your Philadelphia Flyers, Noel Acciari. 2 years, $2.8 million AAV, coming from the Penguins. Interestingly enough, had a bit of a dust-up, or even plural, with a guy like Zegras. So he's maybe got that on his mind. He knows well and good the Flyers team he just played in the playoffs. As that home ice advantage Pittsburgh Penguin squad, he saw some things. Maybe he didn't like quite a few things in the moments. But it's an interesting signing. I think it's a good signing to be a fourth line impact in restricted minutes, limited roles, but to really fill in and maybe go above and beyond what Garnet Hathaway was able to provide in the fourth line, playing some select roles, but as a center, I think it's the best, as much little risk, really minimal financial commitment, which I think by comparison to some other moves in this market makes it look even better. What do you guys think of this marginal move, but potentially impactful move, in the comments? Moving on to, oh man, did I think we were going to say this? Claude Giroux, potential reunion. He is set to leave Ottawa. You look at Julian McKenzie, some of the really tapped-in insiders there. Julian McKenzie of The Athletic works with Chris Johnston. Talking about, with Steve Staios, his press conference today, takeaway being Claude Giroux is not going to return to Ottawa. Staios didn't go as far as to say that, even maybe quotes at least intimating, we have an offer out, but he wants to explore things. They're sort of optimistic, but at the end of the day, Pierre LeBrun, in an early day leak about, there's clearly some mutual interest with Giroux and Philly. Briere was asked a little bit about it in his 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock post day one of free agency availability. Didn't really get into specifics, but did confirm a level of interest. And if Giroux's not going back to Ottawa, this very well could be the destination. And I'm still actively processing this possibility, truth be told, guys. I know an absolute franchise legend. Does it make sense to bring him back? Does he always have a place in Philly? Of course. But the state of this team, you just brought in Acciari, you've extended a Forster. There's no real big trade, it seems like, in terms of shipping out players to bring one player in, as far as you subtract actual roster spots. My point being to open up, maybe it was a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-2. But bringing guys in here, you bring in a Giroux, now I'm a little bit concerned for the young guys who you are so impressed with, your Bumps, your Barkeys. You bring in a guy, and then you're going to restrict their ceiling, their pathway to earning minutes this upcoming season? Don't know how I feel about it. Could he provide a little bit of a big-time third-line plus role? Win you a lot of faceoffs. We know how much of an issue that can be at times, especially when you go up against a Carolina, say a buzzsaw team, where if you just win another faceoff here or there throughout the course of a period, and ultimately 3 in a game, or maybe even 4 when you go to overtime, Giroux could absolutely have a role and make an impact, and garner, of course, extreme support amongst the fan base. It would have only be a 1-year, maybe 2-year deal. That's not really hard to guess. But I'm torn. I don't know what to make of Claude Giroux, potential reunion here in Philly. He comes back after he had been away for several seasons, wanted to go chase winning, didn't really work out as far as cup runs, and now he sees us. He sees your Flyers go on their first playoff run in years and years. So maybe he's clearly got some confidence that we've turned a page here, and he's coming back after a little bit of a weird hiatus. Oh, hey, a little bit of a breakup, a divorce, but we'll welcome you back with mostly open arms. To be determined with Claude Giroux. Do you guys want to see a reunion? Let me know in the comments. I have an issue with Danny Briere. I referenced the press conference. It all was going status quo, nothing notable in fielding questions. And he gets to the end, and I'm paraphrasing here, and he's smiling. His last couple sentences of this presser. You know, there's a good chance we take a step back. We're ready for that. But I'm very, very promised, or I have a sense of promise and belief in the young guys here as we build. The exact semantics, he said, a good chance take a little bit of a step back, but to admit that, why? What are you doing? Why would you admit publicly, bit of a Freudian slip there at the end of his press conference, you expect to take a step back? Any step back would imply not making the playoffs. You have told us organizationally, 23, 24, and 25, those NHL drafts were going to shape this. You did not want to just go all in, make the playoffs, right? For the sake of it, preaching patience, but now you just did. You talk about fan expectations. I cannot begin to fathom making that comment publicly, implying, look, we're anticipating a bit of a fall off. You know, you look at a Washington, a New Jersey, a New York Rangers, all threats to overtake you. Now, Columbus, the Zach Werenski drama that was and then is not, with him basically going back, staying in Columbus now after a weird saga a couple days. How you can say publicly a step back after you just come back into the playoffs for years and years and years for the first time. It's unacceptable. And look, I gave a lot of grace with Danny Briere here, but this offseason is a turning point. This quote now just put you on notice. There has yet to be a real hallmark move in your tenure when you've now been here since 2023. Yes, there's been Cutter Gauthier trades for Jamie Drysdale. There's been another Anaheim trade where you get a Trevor Zegras. You've made a free agent signing where you got a number one goalie. But you cannot keep running it back, run it back, and admit we maybe peaked. We got there a little bit earlier than we expected. And just preach patience. When you have a Konechny, a Sanheim, guys who are older, right in the midst of their primes, maybe 1, 2, 3 years and counting. How much longer are you going to just sell, we're looking to the future, we're looking to the future, we're looking to the future, we're looking to the future? The timelines here just don't really make sense to me. You've got the young guys, your young wingers, Barkey, Bump, Martone, Michkov, Forster even in that group. And you try to marry that with of course, the group of leadership that you have. What do you think of Sean Couturier, one of your closest, the well-documented relationship, Briere and Couturier? What do you think he thinks about this comment publicly? Take a step back. Where he is in his career. I just cannot believe it. And this is why, barring any notable, meaningful trade within the next days, weeks, if it really isn't within the next couple days, very unlikely given the off-season timeline here. Everyone goes to their cottages. We'll see you back in September, October when things re-ramp up. At a certain point, you have to show the people in your locker room you want to be making a step, building on what you just did as in terms of a competitive landscape. What do you think of Briera's comments? What do you hope we do? Your Philadelphia Flyers in the next coming days. In this still early to rapidly closing stage of transactions in free agency, guys. Let me know in the comments. Have a great one. See you in the next one.